These enemies that you see me fighting right here are la creme de la creme when it comes to enemies. They have the best possible gear that money can buy in this game. As a matter of fact, some of them have better gear than me. They are filled with Nuremberg plated armor and things like that. They have the highest tier level of weapons. They have the highest level in the game because these are not regular bandits. They are elite soldiers from Sigismund's army. And as you can see right here, I'm working really good on them. Like the amount of damage that you can deal to these guys with these weapons, it's just insane. Now it's going to be 2 weapons, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to leave up to your final discretion which one of them are going to be best for you. But ideally, I thought, and I think that most of the people were on the consensus, that we all thought that the Reforged Sir Ratsi's Kavila sword was the best weapon in the game. Both of these weapons that I'm going to show you right now are much better than the Reforged Ratsi's Kavila's weapon. That being said, there's going to be you're going to require quite a bit of preparation. One of them is going to be a little bit easier to obtain than the other one. You are going to require to have crafting at least in 16 because these are tier 4 legendary rank crafted weapons that you can only craft them at the blacksmith if you have the Martin's perk. However, and also for another one, you are going to require to have a high level of lock picking, because it is going to be hidden between some locks. We'll get into that a little later, but let's actually go over through the stats so that you can see what is it that I'm talking about. So first, I think that the main comparison that we're going to have right in here is going to be between the Reforged Sir Ratsi's Kavila's weapon and the Sword of Sir Valentine, which is the main weapon that we are using for this showcase. Now, when it comes to damage, as you can see compared right here, you will see that the Reforged Ratsi's Kavila sword, which is a tier 3 weapon that cannot go into tier 4 weapon, it can have a stab damage of 172, which is 13 points higher than our Sir Valentine sword, but it has less slash damage. And what do you know? All of the directions, most 80% of the attacks that we are going to be doing with this weapon, left, right, up, and some of the combo finishers are going to be slash damage. What's the cool thing about this? The Sword of Sir Valentine, it's not a long sword, it's a short sword. So short swords are balanced because they have very low damage. You will see that I can compare this, for example, right here with the Peter of Shuleski's sword, which, when it comes to damage, this is a tier 3 unique sword that you can get at the on a very difficult quest, fighting very difficult enemies, and it has way less damage than Sir Ratsi's Kavila sword because it's supposed to be like that. This is a short sword. So in return, when it comes to actual comparison one to another, they are not that different one to the other because this is very fast attacking and it can be used to spam attacks. The same thing happens with the Sword of Sir Valentine. However, it's going to have much more, well, not much more, it's going to be a little bit more when it comes to slash damage. It's going to have 4 points more into the slash damage. But not only that, the Reforged Sir Ratsi's Kavila sword has 299 on defense, which is going to be plus 57 points more than the ones that you would have on the Sword of Sir Valentine. But if you slot a shield, you're going to have that extra 242 plus the 263 that the shield is going to give you, while still being a one-handed sword that is going to be much faster than the Sword of Sir Ratsi's Kavila because it's a two-handed weapon. Furthermore than that, yes, there is a perk that you can use to use a shield with the longswords. However, the downside about that is that you lose about 20% damage. So if you round up numbers, it's going to make you lose around 35 points into damage, making this be like 140 something. And the only benefit that you would have is that it's going to be longer, so you do have a little bit more reach, but it would be to some extent on some balance with the regular one-handed swords that you would have in the game. But also, not only that, when you're using two-handed swords with a shield, you also lose speed on their weapon. So the DPS potential and the maneuverability that you have for combos, it's really highly decreased. Having all of that into account, that's why the Sword of Sir Valentine is the best, hands down, the best weapon on the game. And there's only just one contender that can actually fight for that position with this right here, and it is going to be the tier 4 Dueling sword. Now, if we actually equip the Sword of Sir Valentine right in here, and then we try to equip the Dueling Sword, you will see that it has plus 24 points into stab damage. That's quite a lot. Slash damage, it's just 7 points. Like, it's not that high, but it is a little bit higher. It has more blunt damage, it has more defense. Have in mind a little extra note that the Reforged Kabila Sword has more defense. It has 299 than the Dueling Sword. The Dueling Sword has 272. So when it comes to defense, the Sword of Sir Valentine is always going to outclass these two guys right here, because you have the chance to use them with a shield, and you're not going to have any downsides by using a shield. Now, when it comes to comparison to the Dueling Sword is going to be somewhat a little bit more, it's going to have a little bit more balance with the Reforged Sir Kabila Sword, because yes, it's supposed to have a little bit more damage than a sword that it's going to be fast attacking. However, remember, yes, the stab damage is going to be humongous, so whenever you're going to be doing stab damage, that's actually quite enough. That's actually quite high. Slash damage, it's not actually that high, and remember that this is all you have to take into account, the DPS. Dueling swords are very slow, and if you want to be using the Dueling Sword with a shield to make up for the defense that you're going to lack when you compare it in the versus with the Sword of Sir Valentine with a shield, it's going to lose their speed, and it's going to furthermore be less effective. So the Dueling Swords should be used mostly without a shield if you do not want to be losing on that damage. When it comes to the DPS, I still believe the Sword of Sir Valentine to be better than the Dueling Sword, purely because of the fact that it has more defense, it has more slashing damage. Well, it has somewhat of the same slashing damage, but when it comes to DPS, it's going to be better to have the Sword of Sir Valentine for that fact. Now, that being the case, if you are performing quite a bit of staff combos, or you're performing a lot of parries that are going to require for you to stab the enemy, both of these swords are more often not going to one-shot the enemies, but the Dueling Sword has higher chances of one-shotting the enemies, provided that you do a master parry that's based on poking the enemy, on dealing piercing damage. Now that said, let me guide you on how can you get these weapons. The first one is going to be Sir Valentine's sword, and it's going to be from a schematic that you are going to get from this little place right here. You are going to be requested to come to a quest, a very, very interesting quest right in here, and you are going to open up this little path that you have right here. If this is not open to you just by coming in here, have in mind that the quest is going to be from a knight that you're going to be able to find up here. He's going to request for you to find the Sir Valentine's sword. Now, when you come down here, which is something that you are going to have to be required to do, here's where you have to go. There's going to be this little coffin right here. You're going to open it. You're not going to find the sword, but if you search it again, you are going to find the schematic. The cool thing about the schematic is that this is a schematic that you can craft whenever you want to, so there's not like a unique item, so you can craft as many of them as you want. The quest is going to require for you to return the weapon, so my advice is that you give them a lower version of a weapon, maybe a tier 2 or tier 3, and then you craft a tier 4 for yourself. Now, if instead you actually want to have the Dueling Sword, you don't like the one-handed Sir Valentine's sword, you're going to want to come to the Old Kotna right in here, and then go a little bit to the north. And this, and the close mine, you're going to find this building. If you lose yourself, then use this destroyed building that's quite behind it as a reference. And then you come in here, there's going to be a locked door. That is going to require medium locksmithing or medium thievery for you to be able to open it. There's going to be one dude right in here, it's not going to be that difficult, and then you're going to find it on this chest. This is going to be a difficult tier, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 tiers of lockpicking. This is going to require the tier 3, I believe, so I think that with lockpicking 15 should be enough for you to be able to open this thing. But yeah, that's one of the things that need to happen. Then you are going to need to craft them. As you can see right here, I have my craftsmanship at level 30. At level 16, you are going to have the perk to be able to craft legendary gear, which is tier 4. That is going to be the Martin's secret right here. This is what's going to allow you to craft legendary gear. Now, tomorrow, you're probably not going to be able to see it today, but tomorrow I am going to post a video on how can you level up your crafting all the way to 30 like I do in just a couple of minutes. It's just going to be a couple of minutes, but I think that this video was more important. So if you're watching this tomorrow, then you're probably going to be able to see the link in the description. If you're watching it today, then you're probably not. But yes, there you go. Those are the most powerful OP and broken weapons in the game that can quite literally one-shot the most elite enemies that you have in here on the game. They are very, very powerful. If you like the content, like and never super appreciate it, and also you the gorgeous, beautiful person, you're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person, subscribe to the channel, join Discord, have a beautiful day and goodbye.